Welcome, I'll be reviewing Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 3. These are just kind of my running thoughts as I was watching. It looks like each episode will have a different person narrating, which is really interesting. You know, for someone wearing a red shirt, Ensign Lance was poking around where he shouldn't have been, getting into trouble. I was worried about him from the first scene. Ortegas continues to have flawless comedic line delivery. When she ran into him in the corridor, just kind of stripping, and was like, maybe this is something you should, do in your own quarters. Poor Kyle at the transporter controls with so much pressure on him. I am glad I don't have his job. Does anyone actually want to be in charge of that? Can you imagine being the person responsible for one of those transporter accidents? Okay, you're half cat now. Sorry? I love how Spock was just chilling in the alien library during all the hectic stuff with the ion storm. That would be me as well. I'd be like, wait, we can't go. There's more books to read, Captain. And that deadpan delivery from Spock as the storm hit. Suggestions, Mr. Spock? Run. I kind of want him to be a companion on Doctor Who now. When they did that whistle for number 1, presumably because she was standing in for the captain, my heart leapt a bit. I may have gone back and rewatched it a few times. That sound is not quite the level of a seismic charge on Star Wars, but it's close. She has a straightforward, no-nonsense command style, and I'm honestly not sure if that would be really annoying or awesome if I was working with her. Good thing Dr. Mbenga was on it. I don't remember much about him from TOS. I really need to rewatch his episodes. In this one, it seemed like he was hiding something though. From the beginning, I was like, what's going on with him? And why was Una lying about being affected? My first instinct was, is she really human? I mean, they've never really gone into that. I think there's a novel with her or something, but I haven't read it. And I don't know if it's canonical. So I was like, I thought she was human, but she's not acting human. What's going on? I'm really glad that they mentioned the transporter biofilters, because the Star Trek fans, that was our first instinct. Like, what about the filters? I really loved that Hemmer kept bringing up how irritated he was about having to work all night long. That's one thing that they don't really talk about on Star Trek that I kind of wish they brought up more, and I'm glad that they did here, which is sometimes they overwork their people. I get it, it's an emergency situation, but come on, it happens every week. And the crew needs downtime. You can't just keep demanding, I need that done in an hour, and you better stay up to do it. Thank you, Hemmer, for being like, excuse me, I need my sleep. Can I please go to bed and stop running diagnostics? And then finally we got Khan brought up. I figured they would need to do that at some point. There's no way they chose a name like Singh and didn't have some kind of backstory to it. And poor kid, I mean, getting bullied for it, being distantly related to Khan, losing her family like she did. Honestly, I'm not sure why she didn't just change her name, or her parents didn't change their name. I guess they figured it would kind of get forgotten eventually. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. However, the plotline of the Illyrians being those storm creatures was so telegraphed that the minute I saw those semi-living creatures of light in the storm, I was like, those are Illyrians. I wish there had been a little bit more of a mystery to it. It was just so obvious. That being said, a contagion traveling via light is pretty terrifying. It's kind of like the reverse of the Doctor Who library episode. Hey, who turned out the lights? Hey, who turned out the lights? In my opinion, that was the most frightening out of all of Doctor Who. And I've watched all the classic back to Hartnell. So this is like the flipped version of that, where you want to avoid the light instead of the dark. The minute Una picked Hemmer up and just slung him over her shoulder, I was like, well, she's Illyrian. Genetically modified people hiding in Starfleet. I always enjoyed that plotline on Deep Space Nine. And it was interesting that they brought it up here again, that the Federation seems like it's super tolerant and loves everyone, but it has this little asterisk, except genetically modified people, and Pike kind of called them out on it a little bit. And of course, this caused a super tense scene between her and Laan. I honestly wasn't sure if they would ever be friends again. I mean, I get it. Singh was pretty sick at the time, but some of the things they said to each other, not easy to take back. I think the Pike and Spock scene was one of the most fun. When the captain had his phaser out, he's ready to blast, and Spock was just calmly reading. I am arming us with knowledge, Captain. I now want every fight scene to have somebody in the back just reading. I mean, like, I'm arming us with knowledge. The other slightly jarring moment was the jump between the warp core fight scene, which was so cool, but then boom, magical antibodies, and everyone is fine, and we're waking up in sickbay. I felt like it needed one transitional scene with Una, and not just because I want to see her more, but I felt like it was too sudden. Maybe I'm alone. Post in the comments what you think of that transition between warp core, sickbay. The moment with Singh drowning her sorrows in strawberries was so relatable. They're also my comfort food, so the fact that I share that with these two, I'm also glad that Una had a chance to explain to her friend that instead of terraforming planets, her people terraform themselves, as it were, so that they can simply live on that planet as it currently is. I think that's a really awesome concept. I mean, if I was going to say live on an ice planet like Hoth, I would totally get genetically modified to handle cold like that. Wouldn't that be way easier? You wouldn't have to get stuck in a tauntaun. A lot less smellier too. What do you think? Change the planet or change the people colonizing the planet? I knew the moment she attempted to resign that Pike would be like, nope, not on my ship you aren't. You let me worry about Starfleet. Captain Pike just takes care of his people. I would 100% trust him as my captain. Another reason why I think this is my favorite ship of Star Trek, if I was going to be on one. He puts his crew first every time, and of course other alien races as well. And it's like, how can we help people? He's just like out in space, having barbecues, saving people. So, Dr. Mbenga was responsible for that odd transporter malfunction. I feel for his daughter being trapped in the buffer like that, but hundreds of people almost died because of it. And he realized that as well. What a decision to say, I'm ready to let her go. I can't endanger the crew like that again. I am fairly sure that Una would have offered to help even if he hadn't decided that on his own, but I think that really impressed her as well. That almost final moment of her, though, talking about when will it be enough to simply exist without also having to be a hero to be accepted, was so powerful. Such a beautiful log entry, and then she deleted it. I really like how each episode so far is focusing on a different crew member, and I hope that they keep this going and just kind of highlight everybody in turn. This is what I wanted Disco to do, and they haven't really done that yet, except in the comics. What's funny is I just started reading the Star Trek Discovery comics, and they have been highlighting one person each issue and doing it completely from their POV. My favorite so far has been Grudge. Yes, there is a comic from Grudge's perspective. Yes, Queen. And I think I read it 3 times. It was just so good. And then I just finished the Adira one, which is just so cute. And I think this shows how powerful storytelling can be when you have an ensemble, but then take the time to really follow along with one person for a little while, get to know them. And I think this style of storytelling ultimately makes a stronger ensemble because you really feel connected to these people. It's not like, what was their name? And they're at the helm, so they must pilot? Which is kind of the sense I got on Discovery the first few seasons. And now it's like, oh, I know so much more about number 1 and Singh. I'm hoping that we get one for like Sam Kirk, Mr. Kyle, the transporter guy. I want to know more about him. Can we do a day in Kyle's life? Although this episode was not perfect, I absolutely adored it, and I really hope we keep this format. I'm so excited. I can't wait for like the Lieutenant Ortega's episode. This is the most excited I've been about Star Trek in years. I don't think since Deep Space Nine, because as much as I enjoyed Voyager and Enterprise, I don't know, it's something so Star Trekky. Is that a thing? Star Trekky? Live long and prosper.